Believe it or not, more HR managers are using artificial intelligence tools for hiring and firing employees. A survey in the Washington Post found 98% of companies say AI software will help them with these decisions. Joining us tonight, we have Vikram Bhargava, an assistant professor of strategic management and public policy at the George Washington University School of Business. Thanks so much for being here.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So when you think of this concept, it seems crazy, right? HR managers hiring people with AI, firing them through AI. First of all, just talk to me about this concept. Why the desire to even do this? What's the benefit for employers?
Sure. It's a good question, especially as firms are starting to get concerned that there might be a recession looming. They're thinking about ways in which how can we make this hiring process, this recruiting process, more cost effective? And, it is the hiring and the interviewing process is famously expensive. This is something that everybody recognizes. And now that there are some AI related tools that might be able to help employers make these decisions about hiring, there's a strong temptation to sort of rely on them. And it allows, for example, for smaller HR teams. And there's a sense in which the temptation is that, well, we can do this job faster with a broader range of applicants and at less expense.
Yeah,
so that's part of the temptation for the firms.
That's when they say that AI is going to take over our jobs. I mean, here we're looking at it. From a technology standpoint, how exactly would this work? I mean, when they say an AI would be doing the hiring or even the firing, can you kind of break down how that technology would work? I mean, you're not interfacing with a person, I assume, then.
Sure. It's mixed the ways they use them. To be sure, people use AI to refer to all sorts of different things. They already have, video interview systems that even some of my students are sort of being subjected to, so to speak, where they go through the entire interview process through videos, and then the AI systems score their video performance on these interviews and so on. In some cases, they might use it to sort of just make predictions based on an applicant's resume, or even sometimes, screen ideal applicants by scraping social media data that they might not have even put forth to try to, target and recruit the ideal candidate. So there are a lot of different ways in which they might use this technology. Now, my focus is on the sort of ethical issues that arise due to this. And, you rightly sort of had some hesitation when you sort of heard that, well, firms are relying on these to make these decisions. And, a lot of the concerns that people raise about using these algorithms tend to be with respect to bad outcomes. For example, well, let's say the algorithm made a bad decision about whom to hire or whom to fire for that matter. And, sometimes there's, a growing number of cases where if the algorithm was fed data that was biased, either with respect to certain genders or races or other kind of demographics, well, the outputs of that algorithm will similarly be biased or could even amplify that bias. So people typically point to some of these kind of outcome concerns.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the issue. How right is this technology? Where are we in the process of this being kind of foolproof? You've published research on AI's impact on hiring. Do you think this is the way to go? Or do you think interviews in person are still, important? I mean, what is the research showing here?
It's a great question. We should also be careful in that humans also aren't that great at interviewing. We think we can tell who's going to be a great performer in the future, but we're pretty bad at making these predictions. And we, of course, also famously have the very same biases that are fed into the data that the algorithms use. So it's not to say that we are ideal. Now, that said, a lot of the problems that I just pointed to, maybe there will be an engineering solution to them. Even if these outcomes do improve, and, for example, they're not resulting in bigoted hiring decisions. In my recent work with the colleague Puriya Asadi, we argue that even if these outcomes are improved and there are sort of engineering solutions, there nevertheless would be something lost by us not being the ones who make decisions about whom to work with. workplace relationships are an important part of the meaning that work gives us, and foregoing that decision to an algorithm, even if the algorithm ultimately is a better predictor of performance and fit,
is that the way to go?
There's something lost there. Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you're going to have employees using AI to, submit letters and, whatever essays or whatever they have to do. So this is going to be such a tricky new way to navigate a lot of industries, especially the workplace. Vikram Bhargava, thank you so much for your time tonight.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.